Hi, I'm Stephen Jacobs, and I would like to present you a new book which I have edited together with Dimitrios Latsis and Birgit Kleppe. It's called Art in the Cinema, the Mid-Century Art Documentary, and it was published by Bloomsbury. The book focuses on art documentaries of the 1940s and 1950s, which can be considered the golden age of the art documentary, as illustrated by hundreds of such films produced in that era. Moreover, this vast quantity went hand in hand with the exceptional quality of many of these films. Before the breakthrough of television in most European countries, these innovative art documentaries were made for the cinema, and they were often highly personal, poetic, reflexive, and experimental films that still today offer a thrilling cinematic experience. It is also striking that leading filmmakers such as Luciano Emmer, Alain Resnais, Robert Flaherty, Karl Theodor Dreyer, Jean Gremillon, and Henri-Georges Clouzot, among others, were involved in these productions, which were also discussed by seminal critics in leading art and film journals. Furthermore, the production and distribution of these films were encouraged by international organizations such as ICOM and UNESCO, which saw in the medium of film a means to make art accessible for the masses after the devastation and horrors of fascism and war. Art documentaries by Luciano Emmer and Carlo Ludovico Raggianti in Italy, Henri Storck and Paul Hazard in Belgium, and Alain Resnais in France, for instance, also developed new ways of looking at art, conceiving a new cinematic kind of art criticism. Apart from many documentaries on the paintings and sculptures of the past, many films focused on contemporary art. In these films, it was possible to show artists at work. This fascination for the act of creation goes perfectly hand in hand with the stylistic preoccupations of artistic currents such as action painting or lyrical abstraction, favoring spontaneity and a highly physical way of painting. But also the artworks themselves were set in motion, brought to life, or animated by the art of film. For many of these filmmakers, a film on art also had to be an interesting art film, exploring the essential characteristics of the film medium and investigating the tensions between movement and stasis, the two and three-dimensional, narrative and iconic images, and the real and the artificial. This arty and experimental dimension of mid-20th century art documentaries contributes to their poetic dimension, intellectual depth, astounding visuals, and their exceptional quality, which often surpasses those of many later art documentaries which comply with the standardized illustrated lecture format.
I would like to give you a brief overview of our brand new book now available from Bloomsbury Academic. In an extensive introduction to this volume, the art documentaries of the 1940s and 50s are situated in the context of the post-war reconstruction and international cultural exchange, epitomized by international organizations such as FIFA, the International Federation of Films and Art, discussing films by major figures such as Alain Resnais, Luciano Emmer, Henri Storck, Paul Hessertz, and Carlo Ludovico Raggianti. The introduction also chronicles the debate surrounding the status of films on art as art films in their own right. In addition, the introduction draws attention to the particular formal and thematic concerns of documentaries on painting and sculpture, while also focusing on the highly important subgenre of films showing artists at work. Finally, the phenomenon of the art documentary is placed in a broader context of the dissemination and popularization of art enabled by the museum, the art book, and the emerging medium of television. Following this introductory chapter, the book comprises 9 chapters written by specialists of the field, each dealing with a specific theme or a key film. The 2 first chapters focus on the social, political, and institutional context of mid-20th century art documentaries. Birgit Kleppe demonstrates how the rise of the post-war art documentary is closely connected to new museological developments, while I discuss two key American art documentaries in the light of Euro-American cultural and political relationships at the start of the Cold War. Subsequently, both chapters 3 and 4 deal with the ways art historians have used the medium of film as an art historiographical instrument, enabling new visual research methods. So in their chapters on the films of Paul Hessertz and Carlo Reganti, Stephen Jacobs and Josephine Charlotte van der Keukenhoven and Emanuela Pellegrini, respectively, show how these art historians went beyond the traditional role of advisory excerpts or authors of a voiceover text, taking full responsibility for the film's form and content. The following chapters focus on specific films. Angela Della Valle discusses André Bazin's unrealized film project on the Romanesque churches the Saint-Onge region, while Natasha Ritzma, John Wyver, and Lucy Reynolds focus on Willard van Dyke's The Photographer, John Reed's A Sculptor's Landscape, and Dudley Shaw Aston's Figures in a Landscape, respectively. In the final chapter, Henning Engelke discusses the art documentaries made by visual artists, focusing on Ilya Bolotovsky's film experiments.